First of all, I would like to start, as always, by acknowledging the indigenous people on whose land we meet. I also want to thank each and every person who made this event possible, the organizers that does, as mentioned. But also, it's really great to be back at CUNY. I'm a hunter girl. This is to me, I mean, yes, I did graduate from Yale, and so, but it's really my heart is here. This is where the people taught me how to teach, how to learn, how to research, how to struggle. This is an amazing institution. I know it's being changed, and I think one of the things that we want to figure out, how do we all come together to make sure that this deterioration towards neoliberalism and right-wing agenda, we stop it. Okay, so this is, so I wanted to just basically begin by contextualizing, and we're going to try to not speak too long. It's very difficult task to do. But, so we will have a conversation. But I just wanted us to think about the context we're in, where we're at today. We are at CUNY, which we will talk about that some more, because we know there are changes at CUNY taking place as well to take away the rights that faculty has achieved, the struggle that PSC has done, all the amazing things that have happened here, and other institutions as well. But I also wanted to remind us why we are here and why we're talking about justice in for Palestine as part of the indivisibility of justice. 2 days ago was February 25th, the 25th anniversary of the massacre at the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron that was conducted by Baruch Goldstein, who was a member of the Jewish Defense League, who's actually, the group is actually now being embraced by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, as he desperately tries to salvage his skin one way or the other out of the scandals, out of all of the stuff that's going on. And I want, if we have time, I'd like to speak a little bit about Hebron. I am actually wearing a scarf from Women in Hebron. This is a women's cooperative that is in the old city of Hebron, that women organize themselves, embroider, sell, and it's actually one of the hardest places because there's 2,000 businesses that are shut down in Hebron, in Shuhada Street, as a result of what Baruch Goldstein did. As a result of that, the Israeli military actually punished the Palestinians instead of punishing people who committed this. As people, some people know, the settlement is on top of the people, and Palestinians have barbed wire in order to stop the feces and the urine and the garbage that the settlers throw at people. Many of you have been there either together with us or on your own, and you know what I'm talking about. It's a very horrific scene. And this cooperative, and I think it's really important to also remember when we're talking about oppression, there is also always resilience and resistance. And this cooperative is built by a number of women. And one of the women who runs it, her name is Layla. And Layla is called an early warning signal. Because what Layla does is that when the settlers and the soldiers come into the old city of Hebron, she whistles, makes a noise or something, so all the stores close down and basically protect themselves from the attacks that would happen. And so she's running this cooperative that you go there. And one of the reasons that whenever we go on delegations and groups, we tell people that save your money because there is a lot of amazing stuff in the old city of Hebron, but it's isolated. While you could go in, and I'm not saying one place is more important than the other, you could go in the streets of the old city of Jerusalem, which is controlled by Israel, the military, the police, and so on. So it's not really a Palestinian space. The old city of Hebron is a Palestinian space, even though it's surrounded. So there is no possibilities for people to sell their wear, to do. So there is all this beautiful embroidery, all of this beautiful stuff that's around. But it's also a sign of solidarity and respect and appreciation, and enabling the people to stay steadfast, and remain there. So I always want to give it because it's so much in the heart. It's really, really important. The other thing I want to say is I always wear Palestinian thing, and I always struggle with that. We're always trying to figure out what do we do? Do we anthropologize ourselves? There's a lot of people who are scholars here. Do you put yourself on display? Do you do things that put you in? I mean, but we know that these things come up. And I think about it every single time. Do I do it or not do it? And I insist I'm going to do it. Because I'm not going to get out of my skin. I don't apologize for harm. And I hope that people will understand what does it mean to be able to actually protect a folklore and culture that is being erased day in and day out. So it's not sort of like, hooray, hooray, I'm so proud to be Palestinian. I mean, I'm not actually I don't love Palestine. I love justice in for Palestine as part of the indivisibility of justice. So I don't support all things Palestinian. I support things that are for justice in Palestine. So just to be very clear about the agenda here. And this is the work that we're trying to do. So this is the context that I think we need to keep in mind. Because what is happening to us on campuses, what's happening to us everywhere, what's happening with the S1 Senate bill, what's happening with Texas, Arizona, everywhere else, that people are being punished for actually exercising their simple right to say, I am going to boycott oppression. That's it. That's it. I'm not going to go to a business that's nasty. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything else. The reason this is happening is because apologists for Israel are unable to cover up what Israel is doing. Pure and simple. And the more they are unable to cover up what Israel is doing in Hebron, everywhere in Palestine, anywhere else, the nastier they get. Because bullies do not give up bullying. I mean, this is exactly what's going on. They are trying to bully us more and more and more. They're trying to silence, they're trying to smear. They do all sorts of things in the book to shut you up. Because basically this is what we're really talking about now, is being able to speak, being able to teach, being able to research. There is nothing else we are doing. We are not kind of like stockpiling tanks and weapons and Katyushas and Kalashnikov. We're just talking. We just open our mouth and talk, or maybe have gestures over our faces and so on. So this is really pure and simple, and I'm not trying to trivialize it. I'm not trying to minimize it, but this is really what's going on. Apologists for Israel are unable to cover up what Israel is doing. They are doing the same thing that has happened in the 50s with McCarthyism. It is exactly neo-McCarthyism that's going on to prevent us from doing what we are doing. And I will share with you a little bit about some of the stuff we go through. So, and this is what Raz was speaking about as well, is when smearing, we've been subjected to multiple smear campaigns, from being called anti-Semitic, which is the most cynical and ironic use of the fight against anti-Semitism, the fight against racism, the fight against all sorts of hatreds, and so on. From that, and when that fails, there is the accusations of terrorism. And part of it is because it picks up on what is the common denominator in dominant spaces in the US. You minute you say that people shut up and they say, maybe it's true. At the very least, maybe they would not agree, but they say maybe it's true. So there is that. The second level, and we say actually, I mean, one of the things that we're always saying, to accuse all Jews to believe the same thing is anti-Semitic. Because one of the things of anti-Semitism is say everybody is the same. All the Jews are the same. They think the same way. Over 400 years, 100 years, and so on. Zionism is the only recipe to address anti-Semitism, and we do know a lot of us know, maybe all of us know, that there have been other, including Marx, the Bonds, there have been many ways to think about how do we address anti-Semitism, and we're not here to discuss the history of Palestine or Zion, but I think it's really important to keep, because all of this is part of the mix, all of it. So there is an accusation that the Jewish establishment, the Zionist groups, the Israeli lobby represents all Jews. And if we dare to say that, I'm sorry, you don't own Jewishness, it's actually our colleagues, our comrades, our sisters and brothers who refuse to allow Israel to speak in their name, who also have a claim in Jewishness. We're not saying they don't. We do not call them fake Jews the way they call our allies and the Jewish Voice for Peace, Ajan, if not everybody. Historically, there have been so many groups before the current period, from the time that there was discussions of how do we address the question of anti-Semitism. How do we confront it? There's multiple ways to deal with it. Until now, we never say that they're fake. We don't say that. We just say they have a view, and there are other people who have viewpoints. Again, being able to support different viewpoints. For the Zionist lobby, it is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. They believe that they're the only ones who own Jewishness, and anyone else who does it is fake Jews. This is what happened with San Francisco State, or self-hating Jews. In the past, they used to say self-hating Jews. Now it's fake Jews. Okay. So there is all this. This is one of the issues that I think is really, really important. The next step that they try to do is basically, at least with me, is to accuse me of misusing university funds, public funds, because I organized delegations. One of them was actually with our colleagues from San Francisco State University and others, where we go learn about things in Palestine, meet with Palestinian scholars, learn about the Palestinian Academy. And so it's again, the information should not be shared here, should not be shared in the United States. And part of the reason is because the historical word, the humanity supports Palestine. The United States has not historically been in, at least in dominant places, on the grassroots too. It's more likely for people to support Israel than to support justice for in Palestine. It's not the default position. It's not business as usual. So we're challenging that, and we ask questions. Now more and more, as you know, of all the statistics, including young people, including young Jews, are saying, no, Israel cannot speak in my name and represent me when it's committing all these crimes and all these injustices. The same way they say the United States doesn't represent the world. It's pushing white supremacy, Nazism, hatred, homophobia, sexism, and all these nasty ideologies and discriminatory and racist strategies. So they tried to actually accuse me of misusing university funds. The university has done, initially the university always does audits. Every time you submit a travel claim, it's a public university, we're a public university. Maybe it's even more strict than private, I do not know, but we have tons of bureaucratic rules to apply. So we submit the proposal, and it goes through multiple stages until you get it. So for example, the conference in Cuba we went to in June, I still have not gotten reimbursed for it 7 months later because the dean forgot to submit the paperwork. But now they actually open all the paperwork and ask the same questions that they asked before they gave me the travel authorization and afterwards. And this is just one of the things. The travel to Palestine is even a different story because they really would like to mess up with the memorandum of understanding that I established with the Palestinian University and Najah. So every single time I submit the travel authorization, they try to make me add a couple of sentences that opens up the memorandum of understanding to question. Because Campus Watch, one of the Islamophobes, led by Daniel Pash, one of the leading Islamophobes, according to the Zion Poverty Law Center, and a very rabid Zionist group, they have been after, since 2016, they started this big campaign to basically cut down the memorandum of understanding with Al-Najrah National University. It's really bothering them so much. It's one agreement San Francisco State had with any site in any Arab or Muslim world, and we just have an agreement saying we're going to work with each other. We don't even have like money involved or anything like this. It is bothering them so much that every single time I submit a proposal saying I would like to go to Palestine, they say to me, add in consultation with the President's office. And I say, I'm not going to add that because I've already consulted with the President's office. Signed, sealed, and delivered. We went through every single stage until we got it signed, and now Campus Watch has been after it and trying to put it down, and it didn't work. So I'm not going to put that. I'm going to stick with the same thing. Then they come to me and they say, well, if you don't sign it, you may not get reimbursed. And I said, it's okay, I'll take my chances. Then they say, come to me and they say, well, you're not going to get reimbursed. I said, it's okay. You will not get reimbursed. I said, okay, fine, go ahead. My lawyers, I copy my lawyers, and of course my lawyers are copied. Then they give me the proposal, but then they take their time to reimburse. I mean, it's kind of like, it's really, you can write books about the creativity.
Bureaucratic harassment.
Bureaucratic harassment, the use of bureaucracy for bullying, harassment, and retaliation and abuse. When you are not towing the line, and we know, some of it has to do with the Zionist lobby, some of it has to do that you're not a team player, you're a troublemaker, you're rocking the boat, you're asking too many questions. Why don't you just let it be, and if all else fair, they contract you as an angry black woman. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, well, irrational, you're too emotional. I mean, there is all these issues that get constructed in order to undermine what you are trying to do. I mean, it's classical, and I can, you know, I was trained as a sociologist, yes, so we do participant observation, and we sit down and do ethnography. And it's interesting how it's, sometimes I just stop and I say, my God, this is a case to be studied, except I never have the time because another attack comes in. And so that's another thing, is to kind of target my integrity and saying that I'm misusing university funds for other than what they are supposed to be used for. The university have done, after the initial audit, they actually have done, the college did an audit, the university did an audit. The California State University did 5-year audit because AMCHA initiative, one of the Zionist groups, was not satisfied with the results of San Francisco State, so they went to the state controller. So now the university itself did an audit, 5-year audit. Not a single question is about a missing penny or a missing receipt. All the questions are political. Why is she going to Palestine? What's this memorandum of understanding? What's Al-Najrah National? Every single thing is like, there is nothing, it's too transparent. I mean, I would think sometimes just be a little bit more creative if you want to do this. It's very, very, I mean, and it's quite painful. That also we had the attack by David Horowitz and the Canary Mission. They put up posters all over campus. Not just with me, they put up multiple campuses, but with us, they put my face, names of students who were active. They called them Students for Justice in Palestine. We don't even have Students for Justice in Palestine. And they called us terrorists and Jews. They did this big campaign. Now, you expect somebody like David Horace to do something like this. I mean, this guy is one of, also another leading Islamophobe. He's a racist. You expect him, he's known. I mean, his history, he attacked movement for Black Lives, he attacked Sanctuary. He's nasty. He's really, really nasty. The interesting thing is what's the reaction of the campus. So the posters are put on in front of the administration building, where every single person from the president down are. And the posters stay for the whole day. And nobody takes them down. It was the students who took them down. Now, Horowitz has done 4 sets of posters on campus. Some of them about me, some of them about the students, and the students are actually quite scared about what's going on. And they told us to go to university police. I'm not very trusting of authority. To me, university police sounds like Israeli occupation sometimes. Because they carry tasers. They're always going around trying to curtail the space for students. They're turning the campus into a police state. So I don't really have cause to trust them. But I said, okay, we will file a report. Until now, by the way, this has been October 14th, 2016, the night after, the day after CUNY, PSC here, had a vote on academic freedom. There was a delegate assembly. CUNY decided to support the Students for Justice in Palestine on academic freedom. We want PSC to go further, to actually support justice for in Palestine, not just the right of anybody to speak, because the right wing now is weaponizing free speech for hate and for violence and so on. But anyway, so we talked to the university police. Now the university police actually admitted that they called David Horowitz and said, when you want to put up posters next time, give us heads up. And so the ways in which, what speech is being protected, and I will mention, I really want to talk about my student. I had a student in my class last semester in the Palestine who was a Nazi, who actually posts on his in social media guns pointed at Syrian refugees.
Right.
He calls the women the C word. He calls Arabs and Muslims sand N. He says that only 4% of the blacks went through slavery. He has pictures of Hitler. He has a big swastika stencil on his abdomen, tattoo. I mean, it reminds me, when I saw it, one of my students saw it, and they got really trouble, especially the undocumented, the students who are the Muslim Arab students, the students who are vulnerable. And it reminded me of Stephen Hicks, who in North Carolina went and shot Ford Lag. The 3 kids assassinated them in their house and said that it's a fight over parking. It wasn't even our view into their house and killed them. And I said, look, it looks exactly the same. The university said, no, this is not a threat. This is a potential threat. We said, this is really scary. The students are really, so some students apparently went and put up posters around campus and so on. The university took them down right away. Like, they didn't take Horowitz posters down. They protected them for freedom of speech, but these posters exposing the Nazi, they took them down right away. Called in the Nazi student and counseled him that maybe some people will have, danger against him and so on. And 2 weeks later, the Pittsburgh Synagogue massacre took place. So we went back to the university and said, this is not the potential. This is actually, we are living in very dangerous time. Nothing. That's what another, the Horowitz. Then we had Campus Law, which I mentioned, tried to take down the memorandum of understanding with a measure. And then, when all else failed, they filed the lawsuit, which Mark will talk about, the lawfare project. Mark has been living and being, Mark and Benan have been really lifesavers. Because also the university did not even tell me that I was being sued. It took a month for the university to hire me a lawyer. He's a very nice guy, but he actually represents insurance companies. This is way over his head. This is a very big case, okay? So it's very political, so I did not get that. And I went basically, I found Mark through somebody from the Voice for Peace in LA who was interviewing me, and I said, do you have a lawyer? I have no representation. So she introduced me to Mark. Mark immediately said, this is what you should do. And I said, okay, you're hired. He's not getting paid. So then Mark, and then we had Behnam, who came from his MA at Cambridge University in Britain, and he said he wanted to work. He contacted Palestine Legal and Palestine Legal. And so now Mark and Behnam have been actually, we were working together since 2017, since June 2017 with the lawfare. So this is kind of latest, and we can talk about why is it that they're doing it. And I don't want to get into, if you would like, we can talk about the anatomy of these groups, how do they cross and so on. But I think there are a couple of issues that I think are really important. That sometimes we only think about Palestine in isolation of other things. I think it's really important for us to keep in mind that these groups, we say two kinds of groups are attacking us on campus. There is the Zionist lobby, the organization, the apologists for Israel. The second one is the right-wing, neoliberal agenda. So there is a very strong tendency at San Francisco State and other public universities to shift support of public university from the public to private sector. And thus they become accountable to the donors and to closed room instead of being accountable to the public. So that's for them is the most important thing. And the donors are not only Zionists, just so we are very clear about is this Jewish money or not Jewish money and so on. Part of it is Zionist, part of it comes from Jewish Zionist organization, but don't forget also some of the people who supported Trump are Christian Zionists. There is this people who pray with him in Washington, Homeo, and all of them. They all go to the same right-wing church and pray together and so on. It's very, very clear. There is a right-wing agenda that's trying to retake everything that we have accomplished on our campuses. And San Francisco State in 1968, the students have the longest back in the history of the US and demanded decolonizing of the curriculum and representation of the marginalized community. And in 1969, 2 weeks from now or 3, they created the College of Ethnic Studies. I was brought in order to build the 5th department in the College of Ethnic Studies. We have American Indian, African, Asian American, and it used to be Rasa, now it's Latinx Studies. And we were supposed to be the 5th department. That was the reason why. And so one of the attacks for the lawsuit, for example, lawfare, on the 77-page communique that they submitted in court, they actually they said that the biggest problem was the 1969 strike, 68 strike, 1969 creation of the College of Ethnic Studies, and the Ahmed Studies program, Arab and Muslim Studies and Diaspora Studies program, and bringing me on, and the student activism and so on. So what they are trying to do, this agenda, is that trying to basically get rid of me, because what happened is that we've been attacked and attacked and attacked, to the point where we actually don't have faculty lines. When I came to San Francisco State, I was supposed to have 3 faculty to start, 3 faculty members. And in 2009, the Zionist groups pressured the president, and he took away the searches we were conducting. We have even closed the searches. We were about to bring people to campus. And then proceeded to delete the lines from the budget on the premise that there was economic crisis, except the economic crisis happened in 2008. And the searches were authorized and vetted and approved in 2009, way after the budget was settled and so on. And searches everywhere else have been settled except for ours. Like, this is the only thing that they would not hire. Since 2010, I have been operating without staff, without other faculty, without operating budget. I mean, almost everything in my contract is gone. On top of it, I've also been made to do so much more stuff. I mean, it's too much to actually talk about everything that there are multiple violations on all sorts of ways in order to get rid of the program. So the ultimate result is to actually get rid of the program, because once they did all of these things, the Zionist pressure and so on, I continued with the program. I am very lucky because we have an amazing community. We have amazing faculty. We have amazing student activism on campus. We all come together and we see eye to eye on everything. When Koch wants to have exclusive rights to campus, they call them pouring rights. We all stand in line and we testify against it and we defeat it. So Koch does not get exclusive contract on campus. They do not like that. The people who own Koch and the people who would like to bring this to campus, they don't like it. When something happens with the faculty, we all go and stand and strike and we talk about our rights and so on. They do not like that. When something happens to the students, the tasers, we go support the students. When students now are not actually even allowed to choke or have a protest, except if they give 10 days advance notice, or they cannot have sound above 75 decibels, not artificial, their own voices. We are always together with them. We stand with each other, we support each other. They do not like that. They would like to strip San Francisco State from the social justice institution that was 1968, 69, and afterwards, to strip it completely. And one of the weakest things they think they can attack is Palestine. Because it's much easier to say, accuse somebody of anti-Semitism, and then people say, well, maybe it's possible, this is really bad, and so on and so forth. The thing is, they haven't succeeded with us because we have an amazing coalition, inside and outside, including the people who struck in 1968, Black Student Union and the Black Panthers, the Third World Liberation Front, the union, the queers, the women, the undocumented, every single community. I mean, we really, and we work with each other, we support each other, and so on. So they can defeat us. I mean, we really have a huge, very principled alliances, and we stand with each other. So they try to undo the program. So every single time they tried to undo it, we pushed ahead. So when the university that you can actually start a program, they lifted the moratorium on academic programs, we submitted the proposal for a minor. They allowed us to submit courses, we submitted courses, now we have 22 courses. All of them qualify for social justice, global perspective, American ethnic and minority relations, as well as upper division and lower division in the social sciences and the humanities. Which means any student who wants to take an elective, they'll come across our courses. And they don't like that because we teach about Islamophobia, we teach about Palestine, we teach queer Arab diasporas, we teach comparative border study of Palestine and Mexico, and so on and forth. And courses are quite exciting, and the students love them. They come in and they argue, and so on. So we did the program. Now we have the program. So then we went and we started Edward Said Scholarship. So the Zionists inside campus tried to stop the Edward Said Scholarship. But I got in touch with Maryam Said and the children, and they said, Maryam said, wrote an email saying, my husband is an educator. He would not like something less than that. He would like the scholarship. So we were able to make it go on, and there are a lot of other details I'm not going to get into. Then we did the Memorandum of Understanding with An-Najah National University, and it was actually based on the president's own wish to have agreements with universities in Arab and Muslim world so that he can go do fundraising, because he has $150 million capital gain campaign or something they called it. So I went and did a memorandum of understanding with the university I have relations with, An-Najah in my hometown in Nablus. Not very happy about that. They tried to undo it, it didn't work. Every single time, and the reason for that is that actually this new president comes to campus, and he's so enthusiastic, and he wants to start an institute, he wants to do anything. 2 weeks after he gets investiture, the Jewish Community Relations Council whisked him on an all aid trip to Israel. The next semester, Amcha attacks us and says that we are actually engaging in glorifying the murder of Jews, which is a total lie. I mean, everybody knows my classes, everybody sits on my classes. I could have been put in jail if I were involved in anything remotely like that. He condemns Zionism, anti-Semitism, and doesn't say anything, doesn't even investigate. The Vice President of Student Affairs, the Vice President of Student Affairs, when Palestinian students and other students from all over campus, go and protest the visit to campus by this guy Nir Barkat, who is he's former mayor now of Jerusalem, who slings a machine gun and calls for the killing of her, like real nasty, engaging ethnic cleansing. I mean, really right-wing, he's not sort of middle of the road person. So he comes to campus, they bring him, he is coming to San Francisco to fundraise for APAC, private meeting. So they want to bring him to campus. So now the campus is struggling whether to give him space in the Cesar Chavez Student Center, which is the place which is the most kind of like the highlight of student activism, so they give him another space. So now there is a huge brouhaha about that. And the students go protest, and the university afterwards actually does an investigation, hires an outside investigator. The investigator comes and says, none of this protest was violent. None of this protest was against Jews. It was actually protest of this mayor, and it was also against Israel. And once he finished, the problem is he had to go sit in a corner. And apparently he wanted to run for Prime Minister of Israel. So for him, it was a huge insult. Like a bunch of kids basically shut him down, and he had to sit in a corner with all his supporters and talk. So it was a huge insult for him. So he pushed with complaint. But the investigator came and said, there is nothing, none of this has, the students did not present any danger. The student protested. And then when he left on the front door, and they also left, finished. The Vice President of Student Affairs, the Dean of Students, had just come back. Actually, when there was the protest, she was in Israel on all expense paid trip by the Jewish Community Relations Council. So she comes back and she tries to prosecute the Palestinian students, actually ignoring all the other students who protested, trying to make it only Palestinians could offend it when a racist comes to campus. And we said we will have the same reaction if you bring somebody from the KKK or Nazi, or we have, and we do, by the way, when they bring white supremacists or something, we protest against everybody. It's the same thing. And so they, first of all, they were racist to say only Palestinian students care. And secondly, to prosecute the Palestinian students. But then the university did this investigation, and the investigator came out with the report. Actually, it was the same day that there was a report about CUNY, and there was a report about University of California, Irvine, September 2016, that said none of these accusations are true. It's not against Jewish students or Jewish faculty. It's against Israel. It's against apartheid, which is your right. Actually, I think it's our responsibility to protest something that's wrong. I mean, that's what people did, and they said it's not okay. And so the president, when the lawsuit was filed by lawfare, actually the president issued a statement saying that what happened with Nir Barakat shows the ugly face of anti-Semitism. When it was his own investigator who he actually denounced the ON because of these relations that he is having. So we pushed ahead. I want to just say a couple of things. There are only 2 examples, and then I'm going to start. Most recently, I'm skipping a lot of the stuff about law. So it's been going on. It's been kind of like war of attrition, killing you, litigate you to death, taking your time, not allowing you to breathe, not allowing you, but also inside the university. So I want to just mention a couple of very glaring examples. That last year, the president of San Francisco State issued a statement saying Zionists are welcome on campus. And I was very insulted. I wrote a dear colleague letter and to my colleagues in the College of Ethnic Studies, and I said this is offensive to Arabs, Muslims, and our sisters and brothers in the Jewish community who don't believe Israel speaks in their name. Now I get an email threatening from Hillel kids, from young students, giving me a deadline that I need to respond by a certain time. Lawfare is telling I'm not going to be responding, but then I get to receive an email from my dean telling me that you need to take a Facebook page down. And she gave me some kind of policy which wasn't really a policy. It didn't make sense. We checked it. It wasn't really a policy. Then I received an email from the provost, and at that time we were actually running the Teaching Palestine project with Al-Najah and Birzeit University in Palestine, and we were in Bethlehem about to go to Hebron, and I received this email from the provost at 6 p.m. on Friday night, giving me a deadline of 12 noon on Monday to respond, and take the Facebook page down, or else face disciplinary measures. And she copies the council of the university. So, I mean, this is also some of the dilemmas we all face. What do I do? I mean, we have a delegation, we're going to meet with people, we have a whole program. We have young people who've paid their way, we have a plan going on. And so we decided we're not going to respond at that time to that, but we're going to continue with our project, but we will respond to her. So we wrote, Mark, Behnam, and people in the delegation, we came together and we responded to her. And one of the things is that, A, I'm not an administrator. B, nobody works Saturday and Sunday. You're coming to me Friday night telling Monday I don't even have 12 months. I have a 10-month academic contract. So I'm not supposed to be on call all the time anyway. And even she is not on call Saturday and Sunday. Like nobody is on call Saturday and Sunday. What happens to everybody else should happen to me. And we said basically this is coercion, I'm not going to take it down. What you going to do? Of course, what they did afterwards is that AMCHA and like about 60 supposedly Jewish organizations went to campaign, put it in the Times of Israel, Jerusalem Post. Well, that's when we were in Palestine. I mean, really, it's really great that people didn't connect or something, but it was all over that I am the hugest anti-Semite, and the president of the university on March 26th denounced me, and the chancellor of California State University denounced me, and I started getting hate mail and hate voice. So now we actually have even recording that says Muslims will die on my own office. Yes, no, yeah, the university police is dealing with other more important things or whatever, so they're not taking care of it. So that was a big thing that's still hanging, and we know that they couldn't do it because it's freedom of speech. The second thing that just happened recently is that the university provost sent a letter to everybody declaring Israel Independence Day as a religious holiday for Judaism. No, it's not. Also, they did not include Ramadan or Eid al-Fitr in their religious holidays. The provost is a scholar of the Crusades. You'd think she'd know. Because the Crusades did not happen in Sweden, they actually happened right there, where people celebrate Ramadan and the Eid. I mean, 2 billion people celebrate. You'd think. So I wrote another dear colleague letter, and internally, the past dean writes to her and says, this is really bad. You shouldn't be doing this. You need to fix it. She said, oh, I'm really sorry. One of my staff person looked for a calendar, religious calendar, and of all the places, found one in Wellesley. What's the relationship between San Francisco State and California State University and public? Wellesley! They found the calendar there and they put it there. That's missing the Muslim holidays, major holidays, are really, really major, not small, tiny. This is major. Everybody celebrates that. Everybody. The Eid and Eid al-Fitr and Ramadan are big, right? But also, She's assigned Israel Independence Day as a religious holiday for Judaism, which is not even celebrated in Israel. Even Israel does not consider Israel as a religious holiday. You think she would back off? No. She stuck in her heels. She let her staff person take the fall, and they do this all the time, right? And so what is the staff person saying? It's a very good person, actually, took responsibility, that I found it and so on. But who is in charge? It's the person who's in charge supposed to eat the mistakes of people who work under them. If they make a mistake or something, it's a mistake. Okay. So why is it that the staff person did not know that the Eid and Ramadan are major holidays? It has to do with the environment of San Francisco State that people do not know, and it's not okay not to know, but they don't know. So why is it that the provost allowed this to happen? She digs in her heel for a whole week. And everybody in the committee saying, what? How could this happen? I mean, people are like shocked. I mean, first they don't actually believe until they see it, that this is going on. And then she continues with it, and then she issues this past Monday that, oh, it has been brought to my attention that I missed a couple of major holidays for Muslims. But she does them wrong because we all know, I mean, people who actually know about the Eid, maybe not everybody fasts in Ramadan, but everybody knows that actually you cannot say what the day of the Eid or Ramadan is unless there is moon sighting. It's never. Everybody is fighting all over. Is it tomorrow the Eid? We're fasting another day. I mean, the whole world. If you watch Arabic, you know this. It is so typical. The question is like, I'm on campus. We have a program. There is multiple mosques and community organizations. Why did you go to Wellesley, of all places, to find a calendar that disappears Muslim holidays and puts Israel Independence Day as a religious day, of all places? And you don't bother to ask people who are around you to say if this happens anywhere else, people will be living in arms. So we had a protest, the students and I had the protest last week. And this week we went to the University Senate. And we called on the University Senate to stand up by its responsibility and basically hold the provost accountable, because we're supposed to have faculty governance. We have the union. The union is amazing. That's why I'm not talking about the union. I mean, the union has been amazing. Passed 2 resolutions, sent them to San Francisco Labor Council. San Francisco Labor Council unanimously adopted them. So we're actually making a lot of inroads in all of this stuff. That they're attacking us, we're actually giving more support. It's not intentional, but that's what they decided to do. So you want to attack us, we'll have to stand up and say something, right? So the faculty nowadays, faculty senate is actually trying to hold the provost accountable. So what are the last thing that they're trying to do? And I will stop at that. Is we're doing study abroad in Palestine this summer. My students want to go. I always tell them, I'm not taking anybody on delegation unless you are over 21, unless you're insured. I don't want to be responsible for you. What if you tell me you're not going to drink and you go drink? What if you have fights at the checkpoint? Everybody can do it, by the way, young and old, all sorts of people. We do a lot of discussions before we go anywhere. People get excited, they forget that they're there to observe, and they believe that they're part of the struggle. And so I mean, there is a lot, everybody knows this, and it's not something unusual, right? So I want to make sure that there is nothing going on with the university. So I applied, take my students, have my Palestine course, work it with the Dean of Faculty of Al-Najah National University, who teaches a course called Discover Palestine. Bring our students together and do this amazing project. As part of study, that students can write journals, that they can learn, they can meet with people. Palestinian students can learn from them, they can learn from, I mean, we had this amazing syllabus organized for everything and so on. Now San Francisco State is trying to figure out how to make it not happen. Now, San Francisco State has a year-long study abroad in Israel. We want to go 2 weeks, just 2 weeks only. And so we prepare, the students and I prepare. First they tell us it is inappropriate for me to go meet with the students. And I said, why? Is there a policy? They said, no. I said, no, the students are working with me, we're coming together. Because actually we really do it together. Then they start saying, you cannot do this. You cannot do that. You need to revise. We revise. Then we have a sentence that says we would engage with the Israeli peace movement. They send me a question, what does that mean? Then I say we're doing it according to the MOU with Al-Najah. They say, what does that mean? Because I think they would like to undo it one way or the other, so they're raising the question. So we went and got proposals from other faculty members who had successful study abroad. We went word by word and we cleaned up our proposal, we resubmitted it. Now we get questions from the risk management that is asking us, how are you going to go and what you, so we answer all the questions. All the insurance, multiple questions and so on, we answer them all, we get everything together. Now the insurance comes to us and says, Actually, you don't really need to send it to the Chancellor's office, but we are going to send it anyway, because it's prudent to do so, because this is the first time anybody at San Francisco State is taking students onto a hazard country. No, I go and look at the hazard country because I'm always going to those hazard countries. Right now I have to apply all the time. Israel is on the list. I said, so you went before to Israel and you already approved it. Why is it? Is it about Palestine? Is there something that's going on? So now the last email I received, they changed the name from study abroad in Palestine to study abroad in Palestine and Israel. And then they say to me, are you interested in the proposal in Israel? I'm like, no. They do whatever they want, and we do whatever we want on our side. I mean, we'll get swallowed, even if we want to. Not that people are not that nice. And they were really basically crushed when we tried to do so. You know what? You do your side of the aisle, we do our side. Everybody live happy. Everybody does the production of knowledge, and they call it the marketplace of ideas. So this is now where we're at with the study abroad. They're trying to stop the teaching Palestine in South Africa, which is in 2 weeks. We're going to South Africa, we're doing a big teaching in Palestine. They've tried to subvert it everywhere. I've applied for difference in pay for next year so I can continue teaching Palestine. They told me that the program is not well defined. Based on my college, not well defined. It is undoable. We've already been all over the world, right? We just need to kind of like just do a couple of things left. And so they denied it. They did, and that study, difference in pay, actually, what you do is you get a cut in your pay by the amount of money that they will hire lecturers to teach your courses. So it doesn't cost the university anything. But it is part of the retaliation and the bullying and the harassment in order to push me. And I think really the ultimate goal is for me to actually say, okay, I'm going to pack up my bags and leave. So I told the university, I'm not going anywhere. I'm saying here, you brought me here to build this program, I'm going to build this program. I am taking my responsibility seriously, even if you are not, I am. And I have these amazing lawyers who are standing by me, who are actually amazing students, an amazing community, and all of you here. And we really believe that we will win. We will win. I think we're going to have the study abroad, so anybody who wants to go, we had 25 places, we have 39 students already signed on. So, but we're going to put it out there for people who would like to join, and so on. We are going to continue. We're going to continue building. It's very difficult. My courses have been taken away from me this semester, so I'm not even allowed to teach my own Palestine course. I mean, so it's the whole question of kind of like inculcating people McCarthyism all over again. But the good news is that we're standing. I'm standing. We're all here. We're fighting, and we will when we win, as we won against the lawfare. It will be a huge win for everybody. Thank you.